Quick question. Does anyone know who the best teams in the NFL are right now? Because I got no idea. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Talkin Sports. I'm your host, Andrew. My co host, Miles Shield, is unfortunately out today. Please wish him his best wishes down in the comments below. Hope that he'll be back to podcasting with me very, very soon. But I'm here today. I want to talk about sports. Let me just give you a quick rundown of what we got today. I'm starting out with the news segment with a variety of sports topics and stories that I want to talk about. I'm going to be recapping the MLB Division Series from this past week and weekend. We saw some crazy battles, so I'm going to be recapping that today. And as well, I'm going to be previewing, the AL and NLCS, the championship series that are going to be coming up. And we have the ALCS actually starting up later today. I'm recording this on Sunday. We have the NLCS kicking off tomorrow night, the Brewers versus Dodgers. So I'll get to that and more. And then finally, I'm going to be wrapping up today's episode by recapping Week 5 of the NFL. First, a little bit of news here to get us started here with this episode. James Franklin, the head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions football program, has been fired. That was breaking news earlier this morning. The team has dismissed him after 3 straight tough losses. The first one coming to Oregon back in September. The other one being to UCLA only a couple weeks ago. And then yesterday, a 1-point loss to unranked Northwestern. And as well, another insult to injury for Penn State. Their starting quarterback, Drew Aller, went down with a season-ending knee injury, I believe. So it's not been going good for Penn State, who came into this season, I believe, pretty highly ranked. But after getting 2 pretty good wins earlier on this year, beating Villanova and FIU, all non-conference games, pretty dominant wins, I should say, and coming back into conference play, it has been a rude awakening for that entire Penn State program. So now James Franklin no longer with the team on the sideline, and then you got Drew Aller going to be out for the rest of the season. So Penn State in a very rough position going forward throughout the rest of the season, but at least they're not as bad as Wisconsin. I'm just going to say that right now. Next story, going over to the WNBA side of things, some basketball here. The Las Vegas Aces locked up another championship, sweeping the Phoenix Mercury in 4 games. Pretty close battles, it looked like, throughout this entire series. I mean, Game 1 between the Aces and the Mercury on Friday, the 3rd of October. The Aces only had a 3-point advantage. Game 2 was a little bit bigger. The Aces were able to claim the victory by 13 points. But Game 3 was another close one, 2-point margin of victory. And then on Friday, the Aces were able to lock up the championship with a 97-86 victory. In that Game 4, Aja Wilson went 36 minutes, 9 rebounds, 4 assists with 31 points. Very good day for Aja Wilson and that entire Las Vegas Aces team. There's actually a photo online, I believe, on Saturday after Aja Wilson was like hugging Bam Adebayo after the Suns got that championship. So very cool moment, very nice win for Aja Wilson, former MVP, as the WNBA wrap up their season here in 2025. Once again, congratulations to the entire Las Vegas Aces team, and good show by the Phoenix Mercury. In my opinion, 2 of those games, we could still be looking at like a 2-2 series if I'm being kind of honest here, because games, I think 1 and 3 were very, very close, but the Phoenix Mercury just could not quite get it done, and that allowed the Aces to come away with the victory in Game 4. Continuing on here, we have to talk about, once again, a little bit more college football. Some surprising things that kind of stuck out to me when I was looking at some standings and the rankings after, I believe this is week 6 now, heading into week 7 that we're heading into for the college football season. First off, UNC under new head coach Bill Belichick, Super Bowl winning head coach Bill Belichick. They're only 2-3 overall to start the season, and I believe they lost their first game in conference play last week. I believe they had a bye this week, so not a good start to the Bill Belichick era in UNC for the Tar Heels. Some other big things I noticed, Ole Miss is up to number 4 in the rankings in the country right now, number 4 in the country, without Jackson Dart, being he graduated this past offseason and got drafted by the New York Giants, and so far Jackson Dart has been doing pretty good in his NFL tenure so far. but that was one thing that stuck out to me. Georgia Tech is at 13 now. Missouri's at 14. Virginia and Vanderbilt are both at 19 and 20, respectively. I remember Vanderbilt a couple weeks ago. This is something that we kind of neglected to talk about, me and Miles, that Vanderbilt was climbing up the rankings pretty high. I believe maybe the highest they got to was just outside the top 10 after they got that win over Bama, but now this week they have fallen back down to 20th. Memphis is up to 23, and South Florida is still hanging on to a top 25 position in the country at 24. And South Florida has been quietly playing some really good football. I've watched a couple of their games this year, but South Florida has been doing a pretty superb job with playing football this season. And of course, all the other teams that I probably did not mention that are on the top 25 rankings for the college football season right now. I mean, we kind of expected all of these guys to be pretty good. Some of them, like maybe based on their rankings, aren't as high as we thought, but thought I'd just talk about those rankings here. But that's going to wrap up this news segment for today's episode of episode 24 on Talkin Sports. Moving on, though, to our next segment, I'm going to recap the AL and NL division series from the MLB playoffs, which, in my opinion, I'm so happy to have playoff baseball back. October baseball is just so much fun. The intensity is taken to a whole new level. There's nothing like it. For the division series, let's start out with the Blue Jays versus the New York Yankees, the 4-seed Yankees versus the number 1 seed Blue Jays. And safe to say the Blue Jays were able to handle the Yankees pretty easily, winning the series 3-1, not even having to play 5 games in this series. And it simply looked like the Yankees offense could not keep up. The pitching, which looked super stellar in the wild card series against the Red Sox, just could not stop the Blue Jays offense led by Vlad Guerrero Jr. As well. Addison Barger on that offense has been very, very good. Dalton Varsho has been very, very solid for that team. Alejandro Kirk. And that pitching led by Shane Bieber, and that entire pitching staff has been so good, and it's been a very well-rounded season for the Blue Jays so far. They were able to hold off the Yankees as their pitching of Cam Schlittler, as well. Luis Hill could not do anything. Max Fried struggled in this series. The Yankees just overall could not keep up with the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays now will be moving on to take on the other winner of the other AL Division Series matchup, which was between the Seattle Mariners, the 2-seed, versus the 6-seed Detroit Tigers. And the Tigers coming off a pretty big series against the Cleveland Guardians after losing the division to the Guardians. But into Seattle, this was a very close series, which one I was not expecting very much. It was a pretty big contrast between the two division series because you had the Blue Jays and Yankees being a very heavy scoring matchup. I mean, I believe the Blue Jays scored more than 5 runs in each of the games. The Yankees scored at least 3 runs in all of the games that they played, but just could not keep up to the Blue Jays. For the Mariners and Tigers series, I mean, it was 1-run deficits, 2-run deficits. It was just very, very close overall for the Tigers and Mariners. And we had 2 very thrilling extra innings games. Game 1 went into extra innings, and Game 5, the winner-take-all game between them, went into 15 innings, which ended with a Jorge Polanco RBI single to send the Mariners to the ALCS for the first time, I believe, since the early 2000s. I know it wasn't, I think it might have been the 90s, actually, the late 90s, early 2000s. Don't really have a clear memory on that, but the Mariners, their dream remains alive. And for overall, the Detroit Tigers, their offense looked like they could just not really get anything going against that pitching staff. For the Seattle Mariners, the pitching for the Mariners has just been so good this year. For the Tigers, it's been very good as well, the pitching, but the bullpen kind of gave it up, couldn't really hold some leads sometimes, and their offense could not score against that Mariners bullpen. Moving on, though, to the NL side of things, starting off with the number 3 seed Los Angeles Dodgers versus the number 2 seed Philadelphia Phillies. And this series was very surprising in my opinion. I was expecting a series kind of similar to what the Mariners and the Tigers ended up being game-wise. I mean, I wasn't expecting the Tigers and Mariners to be so close and competitive, but I thought the Phillies were at least going to be somewhat competitive, but clearly not, because the Dodgers were able to roll into Philadelphia and win the series 3-1. And Game 4 for the Phillies, I just want to talk about that. You'd hate to be a Philly fan because that Thursday night was brutal. First, you had the Philadelphia Flyers take a loss on their opening night. Then you had the Eagles getting stomped by the New York Giants and Jackson Dart. And then you have the Phillies losing it in extra innings on a absolutely unforced error, like a costly error by Orion Kerkering on the mound. For those of you who didn't see it, Orion Kerkering had this little dribbler hit back to him by Dodgers outfielder Andy Pages, and everyone on the Phillies team was pointing for him to go to first. JT Realmuto, the veteran catcher, Gold Glove winning catcher for the Phillies, was pointing to Kerkering to go to the first base with bases loaded, but instead Kerkering decided to flip it to Realmuto, and Realmuto wasn't ready for it, and it just sailed past him, and that allowed Hae-Sung Kim to score for the Dodgers, and that sent them to the NLCS. But beyond Game 5, it just looked like the Dodgers overall were in so much control. They had every little bit of this game, every part of the series, I should say, locked down. The pitching for the Dodgers was very, very good. They were able to hold leads, except for Tanner Scott, who got hurt and had to be replaced on that playoff roster. And their offense was able to click against that Philadelphia pitching, which has been very, very good. But this is where not having Zach Wheeler, the Cy Young finalist these past couple years for the Phillies, not being on that roster, that's where it really comes into play. I mean, only Ranger Suarez, Jesus Luzardo, all those guys can do so much. Aaron Nola, they can only do so much. But without Zach Wheeler, the Phillies pitching just could not hold a lead. And that bullpen, I mean, without Orion Kerkering making that error, I think that the bullpen was really good. It's just the offense could not really get anything going against the Dodgers pitching staff, which has been very depleted and has a lot of injuries, but somehow the Dodgers were able to make it work. That Game 4, by the way, also did go into 11 innings, and then Orion Kerkering had to throw the ball away, so very brutal ending once again to the Philly fans. And finally, we have the final NL Division Series matchup between the Milwaukee Brewers and the Chicago Cubs. My Milwaukee Brewers and Miles' Milwaukee Brewers, the I-94 rivalry. And fun fact, this is the first time that the Cubs and Brewers have actually faced each other in the MLB playoffs. For a long time, I mean, the Milwaukee Brewers were in the AL for a good amount of time, and then when they moved to the NL, excuse me, the Brewers were just not very competitive, and the Cubs were. I mean, the Cubs basically ran that division for a while. So did the Reds and the Cardinals. The Brewers were always kind of the weak little guys, along with the Pirates for a good majority of the time. When the Pirates had Barry Bonds, I mean, the Pirates are still pretty competitive, but I digress anyway. So this was the first time that the Cubs and Brewers actually met in the playoffs, in the MLB playoffs, and especially with this expanded playoff format. Very surprising that we haven't seen the Cubs and Brewers face off. Either way, this was a very entertaining series. First off, since I watched this very, very closely, I'm going to give a little bit more details. First off, in the first inning, there was just a ton of scoring. I mean, the Cubs, it felt like that Michael Busch was hitting a home run in every single game. And I think, to be fair, he did. I mean, he hit a home run in Game 1, which I actually attended, which was a sauna. For those of you who were also in attendance for that game, you will agree very much with what I'm saying, that it was a sauna for Game 1. Game 2, he hit a home run. Game 3, I think he was actually out of the lineup, if I'm not mistaken. Game 4, I don't think he actually hit a home run, but he did hit a home run very, very later on in the game. So Michael Busch was just killing us. And Game 5 was the only game where the Cubs did not score in the first inning, while the Brewers were pretty much able to score in the first inning as well. Game 1, they came back right away with a 6-run bottom of the first inning. Game 2, they did the exact same thing. Andrew Vaughn came up big with the home run in the bottom of the first to tie it up. Game 3, I think it took them a little bit longer to score, and then Game 4, they didn't score all, and then Game 5, you had William Contreras coming up with 2 outs and hitting that big home run last night. And one of my big takeaways from this series is that both teams are very, very even. I mean, the Cubs can easily overpower the Brewers on offense with the amount of home runs they hit, but if they eliminate the home run ball, the Cubs really couldn't do anything. While the Brewers, surprisingly in Game 5, were able to actually score all their runs on the home run, but the Brewers were able to score with their little scrappy offense, getting those singles and base hits, not very many extra base hits. That did cost them in Game 4, I will say, because we just could not get anything going, and we were just leaving base runners stranded the whole time. But the pitching, very, very even. I mean, both offenses were able to score against each other's pitching. There was only a couple moments where you had some shutdown innings, like Jacob Mizorowski for the Brewers came in on several occasions, pitched several scoreless innings. He did give up 1 run last night to Seiya Suzuki, but after that, Mizorowski pitched very, very well. Chad Patrick was very, very solid for the Brewers out of the bullpen. You also had Aaron Savali and Colin Ray coming out big with big relief appearances for the Cubs. Daniel Palencia. The Cubs bullpen was very, very good. Matthew Boyd. Like, the entire pitching staff overall for each team was very, very solid. It's just home field advantage, I believe, was a very important factor because the Brewers won all their games at home. The Cubs, I would say, won all their games at Wrigley in Chicago. Game 3, though, was a very tight game, and I think if the Brewers were able to take that win, it would prove a lot. So, but home field advantage definitely mattered in this series. But the Brewers were able to move on 3-2 over the Cubs and face the Dodgers in the NLCS coming up tomorrow on Monday. And now looking ahead to the championship series for the MLB, the Blue Jays and Mariners. My big takeaway is going to kind of be, sorry, I got to move my mic here to read my notes here. Can the pitching of the Mariners stop the Blue Jays offense? That is going to be the big thing for me. Can the Mariners pitching stop the Blue Jays like they did for the Tigers in the division series? That's going to be my main takeaway. And can the Blue Jays, I think this is going to really come down to the Blue Jays offense. That's all I'm going to say. Can the Mariners, their pitching hold it down like they did in the division series? And for the Brewers and the Dodgers, can the Brewers offense keep up to the Los Angeles Dodgers? Because in my opinion, the Dodgers are very, very similar to the Cubs. Big power hitters like Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez, all those guys, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith. Can the Brewers keep up with those guys? Because this is going to be a literal David versus Goliath battle, because you have Goliath of the Dodgers just having so much money invested into their team, the biggest market in baseball, going up against the literal smallest market in baseball and the Milwaukee Brewers and their scrappy little offense led by Bryce Terang, William Contreras, Christian Yelich, Caleb Durbin, all those guys. Joey Ortiz being slick with the glove on defense. Can the Brewers' small ball offense keep up with the big-time Hollywood stars of the Los Angeles Dodgers? I almost said Chargers. Oh boy. I'm really eager to talk about football. You guys know that. But those are my previews and recaps for the NL and AL division series and my previews for the AL and NLCS, the AL and NL championship series. Let me know down in the comments who you got moving on to the World Series coming up in later October. But now to wrap up today's episode, let's go ahead and recap Week 5 of the NFL, starting off with Thursday Night Football between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams, two division rivals in Inglewood at SoFi Stadium. This game was a battle. You had Kyron Williams fumbling the ball on the last play, which greatly impacted this game, and the 49ers were able to come out on top 26-23, led once again by Mac Jones. So this was a very big game for that entire team. Mac Jones and Matthew Stafford both played great. Christian McCaffrey and Kyron Williams really could not get anything going, but Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Adams really came up for that offense. It was really a pass-heavy offense, but now the 49ers will move to 4-1, and the Rams back down to 3-2. Next up, we had the Vikings versus the Browns in Ireland, by the way, and the Vikings were able to hold on to beat the Browns 21-17. I believe this game, Joe Flacco got benched for Dylan Gabriel, and this was Dylan Gabriel's first start, and Dylan Gabriel threw 2 touchdowns. Wasn't a bad game for him. Quinshon Judkins, though, it looked like he did a lot of the heavy lifting for that Browns team, but Carson Wentz, Cam Akers threw a pass and threw a touchdown for 32 yards. I did not see that at all. I watched some of the highlights, but it wasn't a thing that I was really excited to see. But Carson Wentz, in relief for J.J. McCarthy, had a pretty solid game. Next up, you had the Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Jets. Cowboys would get the win 37-22. Dak Prescott had a pretty solid game as well. Justin Fields didn't do too bad either, but Javonte Williams had another touchdown. And the Cowboys were able to win without CeeDee Lamb. And George Pickens didn't have a very big game, but Jake Ferguson and Ryan Florene had a pretty big game as well. 6 receptions for 114 yards. How about that for the Dallas Cowboys? Next up, we had the New York Giants versus the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. Jackson Dart, in his second game, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Spencer Rattler looked pretty good as well, but the Saints were able to hold off the Giants 26-14. Those interceptions looked like they cost Jackson Dart a little bit there. Next up, you have the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. The Colts were able to handle business 40-6. And some pretty big notes I want to mention here for the Colts, because I had some pretty standout performances here. You have Daniel Jones going 20 for 29, 212 yards and 2 touchdowns. A pretty good performance for that entire team. But Jonathan Taylor as well, 17 carries, 66 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That was a very big game for Jonathan Taylor. He is back. Very much. He is very much back after having a lot of injuries last season, missing a lot of time. Jonathan Taylor is 100% back, and he is back to full form. He is quite literally this season back to MVP caliber Jonathan Taylor. Next up, you had a close game between the Dolphins and the Panthers. Panthers would end up holding on to beat the Dolphins 27-24. Tua Tagovailoa had a pretty solid game, had 3 touchdowns. But for the Panthers, it was Rico Dowdle, 23 carries, 206 yards, and a touchdown. How about that for Rico Dowdle? This was a career game for this entire team, especially for Rico Dowdle, 27-24. That touchdown looked like it made the difference when you're looking at all the factors for this game. But the Panthers march out of Miami 27-24. Next up, oh boy, my history teacher is going to be very, very happy about this one. The Denver Broncos taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles, by the way. The Broncos were able to beat the Eagles 21-17. Bo Nix had a pretty solid game, 24 for 39, 242 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Hurts looks like he did have a better game, 23 for 38, 280 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the Broncos, J.K. Dobbins, 20 carries, 79 yards and a touchdown. Saquon Barkley could not get anything going. Cortland Sutton and Devontae Smith were the leading receivers, but how about the Broncos knocking off the Philadelphia Eagles, the undefeated Eagles? And if I remember correctly from last week's episode, Miles said on this show, and it was his Shield Spicy Situation take, that the Eagles do not deserve to be undefeated at this current point. And I think his point was proven against this Broncos team. The Eagles are vulnerable. We'll see where this takes them through the rest of the season. I think the Eagles as well had a bit of a tough time in their game today. I'm going to have to look. I'm not going to reveal any spoilers. I'm just not. If you watch Thursday Night Football, you know what I mean. But moving on, though, we have the Houston Texans versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Texans were able to march into Baltimore against Cooper Rush and the Baltimore Ravens and ended up winning 44-10. C.J. Stroud, one of my notable player performances, 23 for 27, 244 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That is a big game for C.J. Stroud. That Ravens defense, I think we know now for sure, is not what they used to be, and they are all begging now for Mike McDonald to come back to Baltimore and coach that defense. Nick Chubb also had a touchdown, I believe. Cooper Rush had 3 interceptions. Derrick Henry didn't fumble the ball, and he actually scored a touchdown, just 15 carries for 33 yards. That's not going to cut it if you're the Baltimore Ravens, and with C.J. Stroud throwing 4 touchdowns and Nick Chubb getting a touchdown over Woody Marks. Sorry, Woody. Yeah, it's easy to see why the Texans were able to beat the Ravens so easily. Next up, you have a close game, another close one. The Tennessee Titans versus the Arizona Cardinals, and the Titans and Cam Ward would get their first win of the season, 22-21 in Arizona, by the way. And Cam Ward, this was just overall not a very impressive game. I mean, Tony Pollard had a touchdown, but Cam Ward, threw for more yards than Kyler Murray, had 1 more interception, but just not overall a crazy game for this entire team. You had Tony Pollard scoring a touchdown, like I just said. For the Cardinals, you had Michael Carter, Kyler Murray getting a rushing touchdown, Zonovan Knight getting a touchdown, so 3 touchdowns, just nothing else really going on for the Arizona Cardinals. So this is a pretty low-scoring game, if I must say so myself. Next up, you have another pretty big matchup. You have the Buccaneers versus the Seattle Seahawks, the undefeated. Not undefeated. Sorry about that. I made a mistake. But the Buccaneers marched into Seattle, ended up getting the victory 38-35. Baker Mayfield, big standout performance, 29 for 33, 379 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Great game from Baker Mayfield. And shout out to Sam Darnold as well. He had a pretty good game, 28 for 34, 341 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception, though. And that was the big thing that really cost him. But Rashad White had a touchdown, 14 carries, 41 yards, 2 touchdowns for the Buccaneers. Big performance from him. Jackson Smith-Njigba had a touchdown as well. Emeka Egbuka continues on his crazy rookie season, scoring a touchdown. He's on my fantasy team, so I'm very happy about that. Miles is not going to be very happy because he really wants Emeka Egbuka, but big game for the Buccaneers in Seattle. Next up, you have the Detroit Lions versus the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. The Lions were able to march into Cincinnati and handle business against the Bengals. Jared Goff and the Lions, Jared Goff went 19 for 23, 258 yards, and 3 touchdowns, as the Lions would end up winning 37-24. Jake Browning, by the way, did have 3 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions, and this is the game that got him benched and is going to have him benched against the Green Bay Packers today. Next up, you got the Washington Commanders taking on the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Commanders were able to lock down Justin Herbert and that entire team. Jane Daniels, 15 for 26, 231 yards and a touchdown, as the Commanders walk away from Los Angeles with a 27-10 victory, improving to 3-2. Next up, you have the New England Patriots versus the Buffalo Bills. And this is what I meant by who are actually the good teams in the NFL, because the Patriots were able to pull off the upset victory, winning 23-20 over the Bills in Buffalo on prime time. I'm going to say that again, 23-20 against the undefeated Bills in prime time on Sunday Night Football. What did I just... Man, this is crazy. The Bills, this is what I mean by who is actually a good team in the NFL, because the Bills losing to the Patriots, who are now 3-2, by the way, the next closest competitor for the Bills in the division. This was a great game. Drake May, even though the stat line isn't that impressive, no touchdowns, 22 for 30, 273 yards. But from what I saw from Drake May, this looked like the second generation of a Tom Brady. This kind of looked like Tom Brady. I'm going to say it. And I know so many people are not going to be happy about it, because the Patriots, with all their winning they did these past couple years, back in the 2010s with Brady and winning all those Super Bowls, they're not quite ready for the Patriots to be good again. And we were not ready to see the Patriots be good with Mac Jones a couple years ago, but we saw how that worked out. But now for the Patriots with Drake May, man, this is just going to be so annoying for the rest of the year, because the Patriots are going to be lurking behind the back saying, oh, we're still here. We got Drake May. Watch out for us. Oh, boy, that's going to be a long season. But either way, Patriots 23, Bills 20. And finally, on Monday Night Football, another big upset. This is, again, what I mean by who is actually good in the NFL, because you have the Jaguars beating the Chiefs 31-28, and the Jags moving to 4-1, while the Chiefs are down to 2-3. I mean, golly. Patrick Mahomes had a pretty good game, 29 for 41, 318 yards, a touchdown, and an interception, while T-Law, not nearly as impressive, but 18 for 25, 221 yards, one touchdown, one interception. But he did have two rushing touchdowns. I'm going to say that. And also, Patrick Mahomes was the leading rusher as well for the Chiefs. 6 carries, 60 yards, one touchdown. But T-Law, holy cow. On that final drive, too, where T-Law tripped over his own lineman and then was able to get back up and rush into the end zone for a touchdown. That is just a pitiful defense from the Kansas City Chiefs. And Chris Jones as well, just backed off from the entire offensive line and just sat there oh, look at this. Oh, he's scoring. Cool. Yeah, that's not good for the Chiefs, and all you Chiefs fans are probably not happy after losing the Super Bowl. Now this embarrassing loss against the Jaguars. Oh man, don't check your DMs, Chris Jones. But there you go, 31-28, Jaguars versus Chiefs in Duval. Yeah, that was a pretty crazy week overall. But I think that's all I really got. One more thing though, my MVP for the week in NFL Week 5. Drum roll, please. It is going to be Rico Dowdle. 23 carries, 206 yards, one touchdown. I could give it to Jonathan Taylor, C.J. Stroud, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Rashad White, but Rico Dowdle getting 23 carries, 206 yards, absolutely insane, was a key component to the Panthers getting that win over the Miami Dolphins. He is my MVP for the week. You guys are going to have to let me know down in the comments if you agree if someone else should be the MVP or not. But that's going to do it for me, everybody, today. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please consider hitting that like button if you're listening on YouTube and subscribing to the channel. If you're listening on any other podcast platforms, please consider giving a follow to this show and my other show, Talkin NASCAR with Andrew Volkman. It'll be available on the same YouTube channel if you're listening on YouTube, and it'll be Talkin NASCAR with W, Andrew Volkman, and that you'll find it pretty soon. So leave a follow if you're listening on any other podcast platforms. Excuse me for that poor choice of wording there. But that's going to do it for me, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Once again, leave your comments. Best wishes to Miles. Hope he can get better very, very soon in podcasting with him, because I'm kind of lonely here in my studio by myself. I'm really lonely, guys. I'll see you in the next episode, everybody. Go Pack Go. Thank you for listening, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.